Looking back to the 18th of December of 2022, billions of viewers from around the world tuned in to watch what many consider to be the best football match of all time. An Mbappe hat-trick, a brace from Messi, and a goal from Di Maria to send his match to penalties, where Emi Martinez saved Coman's attempt and Tchouaméni hit his wide to give Argentina their third star. Thanks to their performance in the tournament, Argentina gained 64.5 points in the FIFA World Ranking and rose from third to second, just behind Brazil. Shortly after, in April of 2023, Argentina were named the best nation after Brazil lost to Morocco in a friendly in March, and Argentina beat Panama and Curaçao. That makes sense. Argentina won the World Cup, and the FIFA ranking reflected that. But this hasn't always been the case, especially considering how the FIFA ranking only began in 1992. Considering how bad the ranking is, what if I made my own, but worse, and only included the World Cup games? That is exactly what I did for no apparent reason other than I like football and I like statistics. The current FIFA ranking works by using this formula. P equals P before plus I times W minus W sub E, where we take the points that a team had, P before, and add or subtract points based on the importance, result, and expected result of a match. The I is the importance of the match. A friendly is worth less than a confederation qualifier like a Euro or a Copa America, which is worth less than the World Cup knockouts, which obviously makes sense. Knockout rounds after the quarterfinals receive an importance factor of 60, since the stakes are a little bit higher, while group stage games receive a factor of 50. I will count all knockout rounds with an importance factor of 60, not just starting from the quarterfinals. Knockout rounds do also have the caveat that teams that lose their matches do not lose points. FIFA has this provision, and I decided to adopt it as well. It protects the ratings of the teams that get past the group stages and allows for growth within the ratings. W is the actual result of the match, which is also pretty straightforward. A win is 1, a draw is 0.5, and a loss is 0. W sub E is the expected result of the match, which is actually the most complex part of the equation. It is calculated with this formula. W sub E equals 1 over 10 to the negative dr over 600 plus 1. Dr is the difference in ratings. For example, if Team A is rated 1000 and plays against Team B, who is rated 1200, to find the expected result, we take the difference in the ratings between the two, which is negative 200 for Team A and 200 for Team B. We plug this difference into the formula for the expected result and then solve. We get a win expectancy of 0.317 for Team A and of 0.683 for Team B. The closer a team is to 1, the more likely they are to win, and the closer to 0.5 the teams are, the more likely they are to draw. Since Team B was higher rated, they are more likely to win. And I do like this method, except for one little caveat. I believe that goal difference should be accounted for. There's a difference between scraping by with a 1-0 win and comfortably winning 4-0 or 5-1. For this case, we have to add a goal difference modifier to the equation. We'll modify equation to include G. It is now P equals P before plus I times G times W minus W sub E, where we just multiply the amount of points added or subtracted by a goal difference factor. Winning by more goals should be worth more, and so if a team draws or wins by 1 goal, the factor will be 1. Not changing the points. But if a team wins by 2 goals, then the factor will be 1.5. If a team wins by 3 goals, the factor will be 1.75. If the difference is 4 goals, the factor becomes 1.875, and so on. Each goal, the factor increases by 1/8, or 0.125. If we take the example of Team A and Team B from before and check all the possible results, we can see some interesting occurrences. If Team A upsets Team B 2-0, Team A's rating will increase by 34.15 points, and Team B's rating will drop by the same amount. If the opposite happens and Team B is expectedly victorious over Team A, Team A's rating drops only by 15.85, while Team B's rating goes up by the same amount. This makes sense, as Team A is rewarded more for winning against a higher rated opponent than Team B is for winning against a lower rated opponent. Same for punishment. A team is punished more for losing against the worse side than losing against the better side. As for draws, the lower rated team is still benefited, but not as much as if they had secured a win. Similarly, the higher rated team is punished for drawing against the worst team, but not as much as a loss. I was also debating incorporating home advantage for the host countries, considering that of the 22 editions that have occurred, the hosts have won it 6 times. Uruguay in 1930, Italy in 1934, England in 1966, West Germany in 1974, Argentina in 1978, and France in 1998. Of the remaining tournaments, hosts have done significantly better than normal in several occasions. Switzerland in 1954 reached the quarterfinals, which is their tied best performance. Sweden in 1958 were runners-up, their best performance. Chile finished third place in 1962, their best performance. Mexico reached the quarterfinals both in 1970 and 1986, which is their tied best performances. South Korea finished in fourth place when they co-hosted in 2002 with Japan, their best ever performance. And Russia in 2018 made it to the quarterfinals, which is their best performance, not accounting for the Soviet Union. If you want to include South Africa 2010 and Qatar 2022, those were also tournaments in which the hosts reached the furthest they had ever had. I'm not really counting these because South Africa has only played in 3 tournaments and they were eliminated in the group stages in all of them, and Qatar 22 was their debut, so it wouldn't be a fair assertion. Considering that the hosts either won or had their best performance in 13 out of 22 tournaments, 15 if you want to count South Africa and Qatar, I do believe it needs to be taken into account. The best way to do this is to slightly change the formula. The way we modify the formula is by taking the difference in rating and adding 80 to just the host. An addition of 80 is fair, as this translates to a 7% greater chance of winning at home than away, which is what some studies have found to be the home field advantage. The home advantage will decrease the amount of points that the host receives from wins and increases the amount of points they lose from losses in the group stages. I will go through the inaugural 1930 World Cup that took place in Uruguay in detail in this episode. There was no qualification, and this is the only tournament to basically be invite only. Since it was 1930 and flight was in its infancy, many European countries decided not to make the 2-week trip by boat to South America. Only Belgium, France, Romania, and Yugoslavia would make the journey to join the rest of the participants from the Americas. Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Chile, Mexico, the United States, Peru, and Bolivia would compete, making a total of 13 participants. All of them would start with a rating of 1,000 on level terms. Technically, this is incorrect because even at this point in time, some national teams are stronger than others, and the Olympics had already taken place. You have to start somewhere. Given enough time and enough matches, the true score of teams will come out. 2 matches were played simultaneously as the first World Cup matches. On Sunday, July 13th, France faced Mexico at the Estadio Pocitos, while the United States played against Belgium at the Estadio Parque Central, both in Montevideo. We'll cover the France-Mexico game first, since it is Group 1. It is a game where the first World Cup goal was scored in the 19th minute by Lucien Laurent, stealing the achievement from American Bart McGee, who scored just 4 minutes later across town. France went on to score 3 more with a single response from Mexico. The importance of the match receives a factor of 50 since it is a World Cup group stage. The goal difference was 3, so the goal differential factor will be 1.75. Both teams are weighted equally at the beginning. The expected outcome is a draw, but the actual outcome was a win for France and a 0 for Mexico. France winning by a 3-goal margin allotted them 43.75 points, which were subtracted from Mexico. This temporarily sent France to the top of the group. 2 days later, a higher rated France would lose 1-0 to Argentina, who was still rated 1,000, but would remain on top of the group due to goal difference. France dropped to 1,016.66, while Argentina rose to 1,027.09. The following day, on July 16th, a 1,000 rated Chile would thrash a 956 rated Mexico 3-0 to go top of the group themselves. Chile was now rated 1,040, and Mexico dropped further to 916. When Chile faced France on July 19th, they were the slight favorites and demonstrated this with a 1-0 win to stay atop of the group for a few hours. Heavy favorites Argentina thrashed Mexico 6-3 in the highest scoring game of this tournament and took the lead of the group. The final match between a 1,060 rated Argentina and a 1,064 rated Chile would decide the group winner, who would move on to the semifinals. 3 early goals by the 15th minute put Argentina ahead 2-1 before they sealed the qualification with another in the 51st and increased their rating to 1,099. The order of the ratings of the teams matched the final positions of the teams in the group. Chile had a final rating of 1,026, France of 993, and Mexico of 882. The first match of Group 2 was on July 14th, in which Yugoslavia were victorious over Brazil 2-1. Yugoslavia's rating rose to 1025, while Brazil's dropped to 975. In the second group match, Yugoslavia would thrash Bolivia 4-0 to guarantee their qualification to the knockouts, since this is only a 3-team group. Yugoslavia's rating after the group stages was 1,069, while Bolivia's fell to 955. In the final group match, Brazil also thrashed Bolivia 4-0. Poor Bolivia. Brazil's rating recuperated to 1,020, while Bolivia's dropped further to 910. The teams also follow the group orders. Group 2 featured 2 of the top 3 matches that had the most points lost by a team in the group stages. Bolivia was at the receiving end of these two, as they lost 44.62 points against Yugoslavia and then 45.11 against Brazil. Poor Bolivia. Group 3 had the hosts along with Romania and Peru. The first match was between the latter. Romania took the lead of the group after winning 3-1 and had the rating increased to 1,037.5, while Peru's dropped to 962.5. Uruguay played their first match on July 18th, where they beat Peru 1-0. After the victory, Uruguay's rating increased to 1,019 and Peru's dropped further to 939.3. A victory over Romania further increased Uruguay's rating to 1,060.8 and qualified them for the semifinals, while Romania's dropped to 989. This drop was the biggest drop out of any in the tournament at 48.5 points. Uruguay did not gain the same amount of points since they had the host advantage. Therefore, the wins over Bolivia by Brazil and Yugoslavia awarded the most points in the group stage. Uruguay won the group, followed by Romania and Peru, who came in last. In the other World Cup opening match, the United States would be victorious over Belgium 3-0, increasing their rating to 1043.75 and dropping Belgium's to 956.25. The U.S.'s 3-0 victory over Paraguay would see them be crowned as the group winners with a final rating of 1,083.84. Paraguay dropped to 960. Their rating dropped less than Belgium's since the United States was rated higher when facing Paraguay than when facing Belgium. Due to this, Paraguay, mathematically speaking, were the favorites by the slightest margins, which they proved to be true after winning 1-0. Paraguay's final rating was 984.74, Belgium's was 931.43. Paraguay and Belgium's last match was a little pointless as the United States had already secured the group, but Paraguay's win got them second place with Belgium last. Only the group leaders from each of the 4 groups qualified to the knockouts. The group winners were Argentina with a rating of 1,099 after wins over France, Mexico, and Chile from Group 1. Yugoslavia from Group 2 with victories over Brazil and Bolivia, giving them a rating of 1,069. Hosts Uruguay out of Group 3 with a rating of 1,060, following wins over Romania and Peru, and the United States with wins over Belgium and Paraguay with a rating of 1,083. Argentina's rating is slightly higher than the other 3 because they were the only team out of these 4 in a group with 4 teams instead of just 3. They played one more match than the other 3 teams. All matches took place at the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo, the first of which took place on July 26th between Argentina and the United States. Argentina had a higher rating than the U.S., making them the favorites. The result would indicate that they were more than just slight favorites. Argentina scored 6 before the U.S. came to play with one of their own in the 89th minute. This was the match in the entire tournament that awarded the most points to the winner. Argentina's rating increased 58.22 points to 1,157.5. It would have also been the match that lost the nation the most points had it not been a knockout match. The following day, the hosts would also thrash Yugoslavia with a score of 6-1, setting up a Rio de la Plata Clásico. Uruguay's rating increased to 1,112.6. A third-place match between Yugoslavia and the U.S. did not take place, and the U.S. was given third place due to their better record. The final took place on July 30th. Uruguay took the lead in the 12th minute before Argentina scored 2 to take the lead before halftime. Uruguay then scored 3 in the second half to win with a final score of 4-2 and increased their rating to 1,154.62. I want to go over all of the participants and their performances along with their final rating after the tournament. The best team not to qualify to the knockouts was Chile, who was also in Group 1 with Argentina and played 3 matches. Wins against Mexico and France and a loss against Argentina were good enough for a rating of 1,026. Brazil were next with a rating of 1,020 after their narrow 2-1 loss to Yugoslavia and the 4-0 drumming of Bolivia. Every other team's rating dropped from their initial rating of 1,000 as a result of losing 1 or more matches. France dropped the least down to 992 after 1 win and 2 losses. Romania and Paraguay each had a win and a loss, while Peru, Belgium, and Bolivia had no wins and 2 losses. Finally, there's Mexico, who had no wins and 3 losses, having their rating drop below 900. Now, adding the final rating of the top 4 teams, we can see that Argentina is the highest rated team, followed by the winner Uruguay. Now, my final ratings are in the same order as the retrospective ranking that FIFA published, except for Uruguay and Argentina. There is less than a 3-point difference. This is due to Uruguay having the host nation nerf. I think this gives my modified system some merit, although FIFA isn't always a credible source. So what did we learn? My system is somewhat accurate, and the current FIFA rating isn't the worst thing in the world. I just think it needs to incorporate a goal differential somehow for a more accurate point distribution. And some of you might be saying that Uruguay should have been top of the list since they won the entire tournament. But let's not forget that they were the host nation. They did have a major advantage because of this. Additionally, if Group 1 didn't have 4 teams, Argentina would not have been ahead of Uruguay since they played an extra match. So the more matches that each team plays, the more accurate the rating is, and as these ratings carry over to the next World Cups, we will be getting more accurate ratings. I do plan to do this for the rest of the World Cups. I'll go through each tournament one by one and keep track of each nation's rating and see which nations are the highest rated and which countries are the lowest rated at each tournament and overall. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to get the rankings for the 1934 World Cup. See you in Italy in 4 years. Ignore the bald man with the square jaw.